good morning, and welcome back. I'm glad to be back. Speaking of being back, I hope I'm not a little rusty because I've missed 4 days in a row, maybe 5. The last time you heard from me was last Friday, and today's Wednesday. Anyway, I'm glad to be back. It's important to me to do this show. It feels right to me to do this show. What is this show? Well, we're just asking this question. We throw out answers to it, but the biggest part of this is asking the question and leaving it open, continuing to leave it open, to let all kinds of different answers drop into place. Who am I? And there are so many answers to this question. Who am I? I'm a mother. I'm a woman. I'm an American. I'm a New Mexican. I'm a boomer. But it's more than that. It's more than that. And we need to be humble about this if we're going to weather the storm coming up. Because we are 7, 8, going to 10 billion people on this planet. All of us with our religious ideas and our cultural identities and our ideas about this, that, and the other thing mashing up against each other. And a bunch of us disagreeing about all kinds of stuff. We are going to be in conflict. We are working it out. Now, ultimately, do I think we're going to work it out? Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, there is a monkey wrench in the works, but I still have faith. I have faith. I didn't used to think faith was all that important of a thing, but now I do, because you gotta find a way to rest in a place where you expect what you want to happen. But you've got to be flexible about that what you want thing. You got to be really, really flexible with what you want thing. If you insist on it being a particular way, it short circuits the universe's ability to hand it to you in 1,000 creative ways. You're looking for it down one pathway. If that money doesn't show up in my bank account, then I don't recognize my ability to take the next move. Because that's actually the definition of abundance. Could be said, your ability to take the next move down the road. And that's it. Anyway, let's get back to this. Who am I? Because we're going to discuss this question from a source energy perspective. And you might look at me and go, source energy? What are you talking about? Well, the universe is coming from somewhere. And it's manifesting out of something. There's a thing that's happening. And we are all a part of it. We are extensions of it. We are all... and I believe that a better understanding of source energy will reap us 2 rewards. One reward is going to be individual peace, an ability from an individual standpoint to navigate and negotiate a very turbulent river world. I was going to say river, and I was going to say world, and then I just said river world, and so nobody, of course, will understand what I said. Sorry about that. By the way, in case you're wondering about the show, it is Stream of Consciousness. I'm Stream of Consciousnessing this whole thing. I don't have notes. I do have a few notes over here to the side in case I come up with quotes that I want to quote that I have that I want to make sure I get right and stuff. But I don't have an agenda per se, except I want us to understand who we are. And I want us to understand how this works. And I want everybody to get off their damn emotional high horses and get into a matter of fact place. A really just clear, we're just looking at it. I'm not going to fight with anybody. I have absolutely no desire to push back against anybody else's ideas or anybody else's. It's not like that. I'm saying we need to look at who we are. And we need to understand how it works. And if we would do that, we would be able to address our individual lives, and by osmosis, it's not just by osmosis, but our collective lives would come together too, as each one of us individually found our place. And the way you find your place, your calling, your path, your joy, your bliss, whatever, and each and every one of us needs to look for it. Each and every one of us needs to find their bliss, their joy, their calling, because the outcome of the whole organization depends on it. Now, I'm obviously coming at this from a place of what we should be looking at and not what we are looking at. As in, I know this is not what we've got. We've got a system right now where it's sort of designated from the outside, and people pick their place according to the roles that are offered. Although I'll tell you, that part of it has gotten a lot better through the years. It used to be very proscribed, the little cubbies that you could occupy, and now it's probably more wide open than it's ever been in time. You know, people are right at this moment. You may not realize your context, but it has never been freer than it is at this very moment. At least for people where, in my neck of the woods, we are in America, and at the moment, it absolutely is free. I mean, free. Well, who amongst us is free to, do? You're as free as you need to be. As a matter of fact, your soul, which is actually the driving engine of your HBV, your human being vehicle, your soul has ultimate freedom. And through that freedom of your soul, your physical body has way more freedom, I'm air quoting freedom now, than you perhaps realize. Or, we have to define so that you aren't arguing with me about how much freedom you have. Even if you're in prison, I'm telling you, you have so much more freedom to choose things from right where you are than you have any sense of. We went up to visit my 98-year-old papa, excuse me, this last weekend, and it was a really sweet visit. We had the best visit. My sister came up with us, my sister, myself, and my husband. And they're feeling very pinned in, They're feeling like they aren't where they want to be, and they want to come back to the Southwest and be with their other children. And it's very sad. He's extremely old, and it will be difficult to move him. But the only reason I bring this up is they actually have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of choices right where they are that they are not seeing. And how poignant is this lesson to all of us? Actually, that is the perfect analogy. You are wherever you are. There are 30 or 40 viable choices that you have in any given instant about a direction to go that would lead to satisfaction somewhere down the trail. That's what you're looking for. Your physical mind might be translating it every day, all day long into a gotta make money, gotta make money, gotta make money. But if you would translate vibrationally first, know that the actual quest is satisfaction. It's satisfaction and more. That's what you're actually looking for is feelings. You have the freedom to pursue that which you cared most deeply about. And what you care as a soul most deeply about is feelings. You love feelings. You play them like an orchestral instrument. You are in a physical body so that you can feel these exquisite tones. And as a matter of fact, as a human being, you are capable of hitting tones unlike any other instrument. Certainly unlike any other instrument on planet Earth. Now, there may be other beings that can play this universal instrument more exquisitely than humans, but we're up there. We are driving an amazing piece of equipment. And I think that it would assist us in our life's journey if we would come to understand how it works without emotion, without pushback, without resistance. Just understand who you are. You are a powerful creator. You are a being of light. You are a binary system. You are a system of soul in form. And the rules of the game is that the form always changes. Always changes, always changes. The form always changes and the rules never do. And so which one are you focused on? Are you focused on the spirit of things? Are you focused on the way things move? Are you focused on the laws of the universe? Are you focused on the spirits behind the form? Or are you focusing on the form, thinking the form is what reality is? Form is not what reality is. Form is what reality does. That just came to me. No, we are in a river of, I don't usually call it a river. Somebody else called it a river earlier this weekend. And so that one stuck in I usually just mention it as a rolling manifestation. A rolling, because it changes. And so the one thing you cannot do is hold fast to a specific form and feel any kind of safety. You just don't. You don't feel safety when you hold on to form. You have to hold on to spirit. That's the one thing that will never, ever, ever let you down. Vibrational, you just let the world kind of blur out and know that there is a vibrational frequency that you can trust. A lot of people call it a lot of different things, and then they in their brains have a lot of thoughts about what they imagine it to be. But it is a frequency, and you can get a hold of it. And if you can hold that frequency, then the steps of your life will turn out okay. You will be satisfied and more with how they do. Are you, going to call every shot? Do you have to call every shot? You don't. And as a matter of fact, your insistence on calling every shot is probably messing up your ability to just flow into the experience that you're really looking for. I know we have some dark times ahead as humanity. Certainly we do. The little swirls of hysteria and madness and chaos will come and go. But we have in our future, whether it's in a future that I myself will see this life, or whether I gotta wait till the next one, build another avatar, and keep going with this experience, or whether it's going to happen in the next few decades. I know that it's happening for me already, and actually that's the answer. You can start the synchronicity for yourself anytime. The rendezvous with satisfying moments. That's all. If you were humble enough to just keep your life there, you could build into you could build a momentum from there that could really turn into a satisfying life. That's all you would need. Move from satisfying moment to satisfying moment. What the heck is she talking about? What is she talking about? So remember, the question is, who am I? The reference is source energy. Why source energy? Because it really matters. It literally matters. Now I'm going to tell you something, and this is my whole show is me doing this. I'm going to be telling you stuff about the nature of reality, but it's very the where I'm coming from is very general and very layman's terms. It's also very, very new. Like, the complete understanding of this has been formalized about 12 years ago, when Nassim Haramein published his first paper on mass and reality and whatever it was. What he did was, his mathematical paper unified the quantum and cosmological frames and demonstrates mathematically how they relate to one another. One is a factor of the other one, basically. And isn't that just funny that it would be that way? But no, the quantum, forget that I said that, just in case there's some sort of flaw in me saying it that way. In 2012, he unified the quantum and the cosmological universes. Probably not in the way that commercial physicists were expecting. And he hasn't. There are more and more and more people joining the laboratory, if you will. But I haven't as yet seen it winning over the likes of Brian Cox, and I don't know. But I'm just going to explain to you from my understanding how this works. We're made of Plancks. Everything is made of Plancks. It's the base ether. It's what the particles are that the whole thing is made of. It's what originally probably they thought the atom might be. It's like the unit, a Planck. It's an almost infinitely small frequency, short little frequency, really, 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 really small. You can't really get a smaller one in this density universe. You would have to go down, plunk down to a denser universe in a tighter, with a different scale. It's Russian dolls. The multiverse is nested. There's all these nested realities, Horton Hears a Who and all that kind of stuff. It's really very, extremely interesting. And you kind of have to, you almost have to get high and then sit back in a chair and just ponder what all of the components are for a long time, until they coalesce together in your mind and you go, oh, That's what it is. But it's big context. So back in 2012, Nassim unified the quantum and cosmological universes and showed us the mathematical relationship between a Planck and a universe, and a Planck and a proton. Proton's a very, 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 very important piece in this puzzle because it is the unit of mass across all the elements. It's the unit of mass inside all the different atoms. Inside of every atom is the proton, the unit of mass. And what every proton is a teeny weeny eeny itsy bitsy microscopic black hole. It's a black hole. It observes mathematically the definition of a black hole. It observes through Hawking radiation the behavior of a black hole. In its Planck field, it contains all the information of all the other protons in all of the universe. It's like the universe is holographic, and I'm telling you right now, I know you may be all bound up in your own religion and your own life and your own little specific corner of the world, but the design of the structure of the overall system that we are all embedded and abide in matters a great deal. And if we would but understand the structure of the universe that we abide in, then we would immediately, as we turn back and look at one another, we would immediately understand why we have been fighting with one another, why we have been destructive if we have been destructive, or why we have been a victim or a bully or we will understand our position on the grid. We'll go, oh my gosh, that's it. That's what's happening. And when we understand this, we can line up. Now, ultimately, that is the truth. But let's don't lose track of the Plancks that we're talking about, because for some reason I feel like talking about Plancks this morning. I talk a lot about the meaning of your positive and negative emotions, and I will probably get to that in the second hour of this presentation. But we're going to start with the mathematics of it because I find that incredibly interesting. I also use it as a way to keep my faith strong, because I know structurally that this vibrational universe of hope and light that I am focusing on, I know that it exists because I can, the fact that it's holographic means that all of the universe is with you all the time. All the time, whether you know it or not. And so what's the difference in us knowing it or not? It has to do with, am I linking into it through my consciousness? Because frankly, people, that's where it comes from. It comes through your consciousness. It's not an outward universe like you think it is. It's an inward one. And if you personally want to connect with the whole universe, the way to do it is go in, not go out. Well, you go in and then you express from without. I don't know. I'm just learning all of this myself. But it strikes me. So, anyway, where were we? The Plancks, the Plancks, the Plancks. And why do they matter? Well, that's an interesting question. Hold on one moment. Well, Plancks are little frequencies, teeny weeny little frequencies. It's a frequency. And so when you add Plancks together, it's still frequencies. So this demonstrates to us that we are vibrational, because a Planck is a frequency, and we're all made out of Plancks strung together. Well, I don't know if they're strung together. They spin together. Every little proton is a tight little vortex of incredibly dense spin. And it is so because that's how reality comes into being. This is tricky. I'm going to start here. Here's this. This is a paper that Nassim Haramein published last September. So this goes beyond just unifying the mathematics between the Plancks and the universe. The quantum and cosmological densities, the quantum and cosmological worlds, because when you peer into the quantum world, it behaves so very differently than the conventional universe does. So very differently. But how do you explain that? How do you mathematically reconcile these two universes? And so that was the first, showing the mathematical relationship between a Planck and a proton and a universe. This one is going to tell you how mass, how as it comes into spin, how the Plancks coming into spin create mass and gravity. And the reason that they do it that way, here's the full abstract to this article. It's in a scientific journal, peer reviewed. So for peer review, please, anybody who is welcome to, step up to the plate and understand, first of all, what he's saying in this paper, and then refute it mathematically. Well, that's how the peer review system works. I have a bunch of screenshots that I have cut from so there's the paper, and then they made a 37-minute YouTube video explaining the paper. And these are screenshots from that paper. If for some reason if you're good enough technologically and you can get to the description of my video, I put in it links to these things. One is a link to this paper, this 37-minute paper. Anyway, this is the second one. I have a bunch of screenshots here. This one shows the proton as a black hole. And it's Hawking evaporation time. Apparently, it's approximately 10 to the 35 billion years, which is a very long time. Our universe is only it's only 14 billion years old. And 10 to the 2 is 100 billion. So we've got a long, long way to go before the protons of this universe decay. Here we go, Hawking radiation at the hadronic scale. We got all the mathematics of it. It's all done. The mathematics is done. And the interesting part about that is that from mathematics doth technology follow. And this is the 22nd century, people. This is it. This is it. This understanding of the relationship between the quantum world and the cosmological world is going to be, it's going to drive the next century, the next centuries, because it explains what gravity is. Gravity's baked into the cake. It's not a secondary force. It's a primary one. It's a fundamental one. And I've got my favorite slide that shows this. To me, is not that one. This one is the one, this slide, this is from the paper, not from the video explaining the paper. I don't have a link to this paper. The one he, oh no, this is the paper. I'm sorry, I'm such a fool. This is the one I have the link to. This isn't the 2012 paper, this is the 2023 paper. And this shows the relationship of, this is a slide I just took from the paper. I did a little snipping tool thing when the paper was up on my computer, and this is from the paper. And this is showing the relationship between the Plancks in every proton and all of the protons in all of the universe. There is a mathematical relationship between these things. And here it is. This is how you achieve a Planck unit. And so what do? You take a photon going at the speed of light, have it cross its own diameter. That little thing, that's a Planck. That length that you go, it's much, much, much smaller than the diameter of a photon, first of all. It's really, really small, you know? You can't get any smaller in this density universe. And the length of time that it takes to do that, that's a Planck time. And then with every little bit of energy, there's a mass relationship, that's the Planck mass. Really small, really, really small. There are so many of them in a single proton that if you made every one of them the size of a grain of sand instead of the size they are, the proton itself would be from our sun to Alpha Centauri, make it a sphere, fill it with sand. So a Planck is really, really small. But that's what everything is made of. You are made of Plancks. Think it's the ether, it's the Play-Doh of the universe. And how does it come into form? How does it change? What are the rules? This is the one that shows the gravity. Because what gravity is it's a force coming off of the fundamental spin of matter as it comes into being across the event horizon of the 0-point energy field, as it pops from virtual to real particle and back and forth, but it's spinning. Spin is baked into the cake. All matter is spinning. We are spinning. Everything is spinning. Spin is actually the fundamental motion of the universe. And all of us are springing forth from a primordial spin. Original spin, people. It's original spin, not original sin. And the spin is what links us all. And it links us all in our hearts. It links us all in our consciousness, in our vibrational beings. The spin, we are all linked. What is it? If I had to put an emotion to it, it would be love. Love is the universe, and that's why the legend, why you say things like God is love, and God knows everything, and God is everywhere, and all kinds of trite bullshit like that. Well, it's true. It's true. Have faith. Know that it is true. Everything is always working out for you. It really, really is. You just have to learn to quit knee-jerking to your visuals on the physical as it's rolling by, because if you can get your focus on something else. You don't have to be focusing on the it's all about how and where you focus. It's really all about that. If you're focusing directly on the harshest of realities, of course you're having a rough ride. But you could focus other places. You could see the love that's all around us. Now, I know it's going, like if I was sitting in the middle of Nazi Germany trying to say something like that, trying to say something absurd like that, it wouldn't go down well because the other was in such full display at that moment. But we let it get that far. We let it get that far. I'm sorry, I would like to push and shove and be all resistant to my neighbors and be all dramatic and hateful to the people that I can see are absolutely bad actors on the stage. I would like to do that, but that feeds into the problem. And I just know it does. And I can get above it, so it's hard for me to go back and just muck and just do it. I know that there is only one of us here. I know that your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. And if you don't know anything about morphogenetic fields, you could start to acquaint yourself with them. I would say one of the maybe the expert on these things, and he has made it his field to study this, is Rupert Sheldrake. And if you want to go look up Rupert Sheldrake and morphogenetic fields, and there's plenty of YouTube videos that he has put out talking about how these work. The way humanity is one is we are one morphogenetic field. It's like an electromagnetic field or one of those kinds of fields. It's hard to describe it because you can't see it with your eyes, but it's a force that organizes the structure. And because of this field, because of these fields, we are connected to each other through this field of information that makes all interesting things like, so if you taught, say you have Norwegian rats. I think there's another word to that, Norwegian brown rats maybe. And this has been done. So you have them work in a maze. If, for instance, you have once one group of field rats make it through one maze, it makes it easier for other these brown rats in other parts of the world to do the same maze. So once the rats in Germany do their maze, then when you try to have brown rats in Australia run the same maze, they run it quicker. Crystals do the same thing. Once you get a certain kind of crystal to grow in a laboratory in one location, you can get the same crystal to grow easier and quicker in other laboratories in other locations. The field learns about there's a feedback. There's a feedback mechanism baked into the cake. We are all connected to one another in a really, really profound way. Not a way that you can just dismiss because it's unfamiliar or you have never thought about it that way. It's how come people have their experiences. They're really cool experiences with divinity and with the universe and their personal experiences with. It's because it's all connected. There is such a thing as universal consciousness, and through even your own personal mechanism, your own unit that you possess, your mind and your spirit, your physical body with its binary system, the soul in the body driving it. So think of your body, your physical body, as your car. And think of your soul as you. Because that's the way it is. Quit thinking of yourself as your physical body. Quit identifying with yourself as your physical body. At least primarily. You might be secondarily. You are your body in a secondary kind of way. But primarily, you are the other one. You are... Now, if you're a fan of the show, and I admit there are only a few, this is the slide that illustrates your source self on the left, your individual self on the right. These are you. Think of them as spinning vortices. Also, they are spinning vortices, and one is tethered to the other, I suppose. We are all tethered to source. We are all extensions of this spinning source energy. And through this spin, we are organized with one another. It's just the way it is. Physically, this is what's going on. And you are these two selves. And you are never, ever, 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 ever going to escape your higher self. You can pretend, you can hide, you're playing hide and seek with your soul. You do that endlessly. It's a dance, it's a game. But right now, we find ourselves in human bodies. And how special is that? It is a special, special, special privilege to be born into a physical body. It does indeed put us closer to the divine. Our ability to link up with universal consciousness from the perspective of a human mechanism is way, way, way enhanced over many of the other creatures around us, although they are also tethered to the same source, and they are pinging and impulsing from the same original spin. The same source is guiding them. We have the capability of reaching a vantage point within our consciousness that links us up. Our imaginations are vibrational downloads from our higher self. So what are you doing with your imagination? If your imagination is taking you into dark, dark, dark places, well, it's not just... So you're a binary unit. You work together. These two selves. I'm pointing at this picture, and it's foolish because nobody can see me pointing. These two selves, your source self and your individual specific self. Now that individual specific self, that's the one that you generally think of as you. You think that one's you, and you're partly right, because it is you. But this one has you can choose any thought you want to think, from any direction, 360 spherical degrees. You can go in any direction that you want to go. But your source mind is aligned along the lines of true reality. Your source mind is grounded in the how the atoms have been moving through all the 14 billion years of this universe and all the other universes around, and how many billion, it's grounded in what's real. Your source mind is grounded in what's real and knows that it is all love, it's all connected, it's all expanding, it's all to the good and the better, and you are the one who either flows with that, or in your fear, in your doubt, and in your faithlessness, you believe that it's not that, and so you're looking for the bad, and you can spot it because it's everywhere. Oh my gosh. My position is not to tell you that there is not wickedness out there, because there's plenty of it. but do we understand what it even is? It's not just them being bad and now you're sitting in judgment on them. Judge not. The judgment is not for you to make. But we do it all the time, don't we? Those other people in that other political party, they're so bad. And look at those people, the bad ones coming across the border and messing with our shit, you know? All those people who don't think like us and don't... We really, really need to get a better grip on our understanding of the bigger picture, the actual context that we are framed in, that we abide in. Now, I'm not going to argue with anybody from the details of, I mean, if somebody tells me that, if you say that X happened, I'm not going to argue with you about it. And if you say that X is true, I'm sure that from your angle, you're absolutely correct. We are all so much righter than we give ourselves credit for, than we want to give each other credit for. Even the ones who are miserably wrong, they are also right. We are all right in a profound way. And where we are wrong in our misalignment, in our misunderstanding of who we are. Now, also, I want to say that I do not live in cotton candy la la land. I understand that the universe it's rather like a labyrinth. The actual experience of it, you know, from an individual's vantage point. It's rather like a labyrinth, and depending on what door you open, you know, there might be a monster or a fairy or a genie or whatever. But you are in control. You are in control of your own journey, and you can keep yourself safe. But you have to be careful about how you define safe and what you're focusing on and what because I figured a long, long time ago that where I really wanted to stay safe was I wanted to stay safe emotionally. Emotions were the things that hurt the most as far as I was concerned. And I would much rather cut my finger or stub my toe than have my feelings ache for days, you know. And I still feel that way. I have always cared how I feel. And I am not at all a fan of not feeling emotionally at peace with myself. That's my number one care. And I think that propensity is what has led me to where I am. And this little message that I'm telling you, because Abraham will tell you, that's her number one piece of advice. Care how you feel. Don't be so willing to give up your good feeling for a negative one. Now, I could be a little bit easier with taking that step one hit, because feeling negative emotion is actually it's not a problem. You just have to understand the process, what is going on, the steps of creation. And as we as human beings are powerful creators. And the step one is life causes you to ask. Life causes pain, basically. And through that pain, your soul knows what you are asking for. And she knows it vibrationally. She knows what you just felt, that negative emotion that you just felt. And she knows the implicate positive emotion as it pertains to the actual physical thing in the moment that you're experiencing and looking at that's causing that negative emotion. She knows what you're asking for. And it's a vibration. It's the implicate positive to the one that you just felt. And so what you just felt was the question, and it's just, or the problem, if you will. That's probably a better way to put it, a problem. And the answer to that problem or that question, the solution, is that implicate positive vibration. Well, that was Step 1, life causes you to ask. Step 2, source without you doing anything. Source answers. You ask, source answers. But if you can't get out of the question mode, if you can't get into the frequency of the answer that source is giving you, you can't hear it. So quit banging the drum of the question and have a little faith that the universe is providing the answer. But it may or may not be coming down exactly the path you're expecting it. In other words, that abundance coming to you that you keep asking for, which is basically you are asking for the things that you need to keep surviving, which is air, water, sleep, food, shelter, a relationship and expression. Those are the things you want, because those are the things you need to keep your vehicle moving down the road. You keep asking for them, but if you're looking for them only in very, 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 very specific ways, and if they don't come from that direction, then you just aren't going to recognize it. Remember, abundance actually equals your ability to take the next step that you need to take. That's what abundance is. And if you have that ability, whether or not it came directly, through your bank account, or whether it came through a favor or a cooperation or a gift or a discovery, or that thing that you needed to move the next step, you may think that you have to buy it. And so in order to, and it's this particular thing, and I have to buy it. And if I don't have the money in the bank account, then I can't buy that. But it's trying to come to you vibrationally all the time. And the universe has so many clever and innovative, and the universe is alive, people. And you can clue into, you can be a part of the process. You don't have to be lost down in the weeds. You can pull yourself out and get a gander at our broader perspective, our greater context. We've been tracking history. We have been on this as human beings, getting an ability to see our greater vantage point. And we're all expected to. When you go to a national election, for instance, and you pull that ballot, you do whatever it is that votes for whatever, you're expected to have some understanding of our broader perspective, who we are as Americans, what we believe as a people, what is it that holds us together. Well, the interesting thing about being an American, now a lot of people they're starting to translate it as blood and soil. But really the essence of America has to do with the ideals put forth by our founding fathers as to how we should come together as human beings collectively to form a more perfect union, to provide for the common defense and the general welfare, and to something, the benefits of peace and prosperity and blah, blah. I'm going to turn into Barney Fife here. I'm really not sure what the rest of those words are. I should, though. I should have it right here. I never talk like this. I never talk in terms of politics or even nationalism of any sort. But we are a creed nation. We are a vision. We are an ideal. And that is our strength. We are a melting pot. We are black. We are white. We are brown. We are everyone. We are all beings, and as such, that is what's sacred to me about being an American. Anyway, let's get back to our source energy self and who we are as source energy and why I would even talk this way. Because we need to quit fighting each other in the way that we fight each other, and we need to work it out in a way that will work it out. Let's see. It looks like I am coming up on the first hour. It means I have plenty of time left to say whatever it is I want to say. So I was on this thing. So these are two spinning vortices. This I'm back to the picture. The abstract. Oh, I just said that word because I saw the word written. I'm sorry. This is actually the aperture. This is the aperture. These are just two camera apertures, actually. A wide open one and a kind of a tighter one. But it's a good illustration. It's not really, really, really good. Somebody's going to help me someday with this stuff. Somebody who's really good at technology. They're going to help me with this visual. They're going to get captured by how clear this picture is. Who am I? Who are we? When we recognize ourselves as a morphogenetic field, a field phenomenon on the planet, we start understanding that there is nothing that I do that does not affect you, and vice versa. We are affecting each other. Your business is my business because you can't keep your whatever out of my business, and it doesn't even have to do with us thinking about each other. So it's not like I'm not in your business intentionally. I'm not even thinking about you. It's not like that. It's not like Gladys Kravitz in your business. It's just that we are a system, and within this system we affect each other. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is that you really don't have to pay any attention to that. All you have to do is mind your business. If you mind your business, then it really doesn't matter what anybody else's business is doing. And how is it that you mind your business? Pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to how you feel, because how you feel is an indication of how well you are blending your two selves. And now I'm pointing at these two selves again. How well are you blending your two selves? You have an aspect of you that always feels good, that always feels love, that always, it's positive. It is your link to source. It is who you are. And if you do not feel good, if you do not feel emotionally at peace within yourself, then you're not blending your two selves very well. And what's the answer to that? Well, your source side isn't going to change, because your source side is very, very firmly, very strongly, very groundedly, very fundamentally connected to all of the reality around you. And so I'm thinking, well, if my source is connected very intimately to all of the reality around, and even so is incredibly joyful, who am I to disagree with that? Who am I to be focusing on some small piece of the picture and managing to get myself into a negative funk? The fact is that the whole scene is good, people. You can have faith in it. You can have faith in the process. You can have faith in the universe. You can have faith in yourself. You can have faith in each other. But faith, you have faith along with knowing so I'm not naive. I know how bad it can get when we do not know ourselves, when we push against one another, when we us and them each other, when you buy into a paradigm. The biggest problem that happened with Nazi Germany is that all of Germany bought into a paradigm of us and them. There's an us, Germans, and there's a them, whoever. And we did the same thing. There is no us and them. The fact of the matter is that the polarity itself is the enemy. That force within us that wants to divide like that and see an us and them, that wants to otherize, that polarity is the problem. And we've got to make peace with this. I was about to say something else and I could feel the resistance in the room as soon as I would say this. You gotta make your enemy your friend. And people would look right straight into the eyes of, Heinrich Himmler and say, what the F are you talking about? Well, it got really bad. It got the momentum. We let the momentum get that far. We could have stopped that anywhere along the way had we understood who we were and how this works. Polarity in the field is the problem. And what creates this polarity in the field, I also think that you could probably make an analogy between the polarized energy in the field, in the psychic field, and the concepts of Shiva energy and even demonic energy that I talk about. Paul Levy talks about we all have this from source energy. We get this. It's like our allotment of spin coming at us. At any given day or at any given time, whatever unit you want to look at this, you get this flow of energy coming from source. He calls it daimonic energy. And if you do something with it, then it's productive. If you focus forward, if you do whatever, however he's talking, if you dream it that way, then it's this daimonic energy, this life force energy. But if you don't do anything with it, and it still comes at you, and it turns into demonic energy. The analogy there is idle hands are the devil's workshop. If you don't got nothing to do, that energy is still coming at you. That source energy, that spin, your allotment of the spin, because you are spinning. You're spinning until you quit spinning, and then you lay your body down. But your spirit is still... So, I've left this aperture picture on for a long time, and I haven't really been referring to it directly, but your source side, the one on the left, that's you. That's energy you. That's Planck field you. That's quantum field you. That's continuum you. That's you as source energy. You as moving light. That's you. The other one, small you. What was I going to say about it? Well, it's who you really are, because it's who you always are. It's the one that's connected to actual reality. It's the one that knows where everything is, because it's the one who is focusing on your desires, on what you really want. But it's not like focusing on the car It's focusing on your desire itself. But it knows where what you want is, and it knows in physicality what would make you happy, because it's in touch with all physicality. And it knows how what you desire relates to the physicality that it knows. God knows everything, people. It's not as other than yourself as you think it is. It's like your own piece of the lens of the allness, of the everything, of the quantum field, of the whatever that we all are. We all are so much more amazing than we give ourselves credit for, but that's because we're focusing on our imperfect outside instead of focusing on your absolutely perfect inside. That's who you really are. A Course in Miracles tells us only the love is real. The rest of it might be something, but it's not real. It's like... So, for myself, my own personal practice has been to get better and better and better at only focusing on what is real about the situation. And I find that the rest of it, that although it might appear real, it has got physical form in there somehow. If you don't focus on it, if you focus on the real part, the love part, the good part, the God part, the rest of it actually doesn't sustain. It won't, I can feel pushback because I can see where, but yes it does, look at here, look at there, look at those bad people, look at this bad thing, you obviously are not focusing on only what's real, you're focusing on all that stuff. If you would focus on the real part, you could still see people being bad, I could still see people being bad. Me focusing on the good does not mean that I can't see people misbehaving. Of course I can. And so how do you explain that? You telling me that everybody's good. And look at all those bad people. Well, what are you focusing on about it? It's all very interesting. Anyway, I know I have mentioned that the way you're aligning these two selves explains your positive and negative emotions. So we're going to go to my emotional guidance scale. This is just actually this one is kind of a better one, but I don't know how well on your device you can see these words, and since it's YouTube, you can't like make it bigger like you could on a regular internet page, Safari page or whatever. So we're going to go back to this one because I can see it better from this one. The reason this one's good is because it shows momentum. Because you are two selves. You are your specific self and you are your source self. Your source self can never go negative. Can't get any negative momentum going if it wanted to, which why would it want to? It's only positive. But your other self can get a negative going. Your specific self can get a negative momentum of thought going. And when it does, you go into negative emotion and a momentum ensues. And the longer you stay there, the stronger that momentum gets. Here's even another picture of it, showing the downward spiral of the negative momentum and the upward spiral of the positive momentum of emotion. And this all has to do with your specific focus. What part of the grid are you focusing on? Are you focusing on all the misbehaviors? Are you focusing on what's real? Are you looking at the bigger context? Are you seeing this vibrationally? It is so much bigger. Now, if you don't want to think about it in its bigness, in its vastness, that's fair. Everybody doesn't have to do that. We are beings of specialty. We all specialize in our own little thing. And that is as it should be. We all should be following what our heart is telling us to do. And the only reason I bring all of this up is because that even wherever it is that you are focusing, the answer about how and why to do it, you have to follow your emotional guidance. Don't go into places where the momentum of negative emotion starts carrying you away. The next thing you know, if you start studying all the things that could endanger your child, if you focused furiously and vibrationally on all of the wickedness and evil and started studying perhaps where all the pedophiles are and where all the axe murderers, where all the bad juju energies are, every which direction that you can, and you keep an eye on all the bad news. That's what drives mothers to drown their 5 children to keep them safe from the world. That kind of momentum. Because honestly, the abyss has no bottom. You start sniffing down the dark trail, and there is no end to the wickedness that you will find. And I'm not naive about that, and yet still I maintain that we are good. How on earth, what kind of madness is this? What kind of madness is this? Well, I think we just don't understand. We do not understand our own mechanism. So, anyway, what else do I want to say about all of this? Yes, okay. Our emotional configuration, our ability to emote the way that we do, comes from some parts of our physical anatomy, one part of which is this, our neocortex, our overview mind, basically. Because these two, so apparently your source mind is thinking thoughts. Your source mind, your broader perspective self is thinking thoughts. And then you are thinking thoughts. Now, how well are those thoughts resonating with one another? Well, your source self is always optimistic, knows how much is laying out there in front of you that you could use to build whatever life you wanted. You just need to quit focusing so hard on the physical so quickly. Stay focused on the vibrational, people. The universe is vibrational, and so our primary way of feeling out what we want and where we want to go is our emotions. It's our vibrational senses. And you didn't know that your emotions are a vibrational sense to the whole universe. You are connected to the whole universe. And your emotions are trying to tell you you think it's trying to tell you that that's bad and that's good out there in the world. And that's not exactly what it's trying to tell you. It's trying to tell you whether or not you are on track in your thoughts with what your broader perspective knows to be true about the same thing. Well, what this tells me, I'm just going to go right to what my source thinks, because if my source is always positive, then I should always assume that whatever it is out there that I'm looking at, ultimately, at the end of the day, is a positive thing. And I rest my faith there. And you know what? It's been working out for me pretty dang well. I've been coaching my daughters with their lives, and every single time when they get it and use it, it works. And I'm so excited about that. I feel really, really privileged to be part of their experience because I have no desire to take the world by the ass anymore. We're retired. My husband doesn't have to work anymore as long as the general financial systems and our basic government structure stays in place. We will have a um, we will have a connection to the supply chain of humanity. That supply chain that provides us energy to, run our comfort control, our climate control, and foodstuffs, and all of the things that we need to make our ventures happen, right? So I don't have to worry about it. But I have these younger people, that one of them raising a family, another one, wanting to find her own legs in the world, her own ultimate independence and ability to create and rendezvous with all that she desires. Even though she's not raising a family, she's got a family. It's just a family of dogs, you know? They all have they are in a younger position on the grid than I am. And so I feel very privileged that they come to me and ask me for spiritual guidance. What they're asking me for is this emotional wisdom, this seeing past the imagined demons in the foreground in order to see the reality of it, what's true about it. And every single time, my one daughter, she's so good at taking my advice. She's so good at feeling what I'm actually telling her and then being able to implement it from that emotional place. So good, so powerful. Because, see, I don't care. I do not care what happens to me in my life. The only thing I care about is I want peace, I want beauty, I want the freedom to call my own shots and my own path. That's the only thing I care about. I don't care about anything else. I want some cooperative components around me. I want a few players to play with me. Just a few. I don't need very many. I need them to help me, and actually as we get older we need more cooperative components. We have to actually be involved in weaving a web of relationship of some sort with the world around us in order that when we pass into the zone of needing more help, that more help is there. And I don't actually mind if it's the people at a senior care facility that I choose, and then they help take care of me and I take advantage of their facilities. I'll be picking the senior care facility. My children are not going to have to put me into one. I'm going to look for the one I'm looking for with the right people, that I can still interact with, and they'll have services and entertainments and grounds. We call our own shots. Each and every one of us is creating their own reality, whether you know it or not. And I don't care what I get as long as the spirit of it is X. And I've pretty much kind of always felt that way. Now, I'm called forth from time to time to make physical choices in reality because I'm not completely... I chose this house that we live in now, and I love this house. And we have different projects that we choose, I'd like this to be better. And then we put our heads together and then we make it better. And I'd like to do this and I'd like to do that. But those impulses come forward spontaneously and organically. I don't have to, go into my mind in a tortured way and try to figure out what to do. I generally float in my life, and my number one thing that I care about is peace. Peace Drama free. I am not a fan of drama. And so, of course, I married an alcoholic, raised my children through their formative years with him, and then he died, and now I have to cope with or deal with the aftermath of that. And there's drama in there, but it's interesting because every time the drama arises, there's an opportunity to solve things and to understand things and to see things in such a way that, me and my daughters are, when we look at it correctly, we're amazed and astounded and even gratified. I mean, it's not all wonderful. What you're looking at is generational trauma, but you're looking at it in such a way that it heals it. It heals that generational trauma incrementally. I'm not saying they're all healed. I have healed them. No. It's an ongoing process. Their pain still comes up. It's still, their confusions still happen, but I can help them. I can help them see it vibrationally and to see past what appears to be primary. I'm telling you, the materiality of it, we have been taught is primary because we have been raised in a scientific paradigm, in a paradigm of human beings thinking primarily of the material nature of things. This happened to us some 350, 400 years ago, whatever, when humanity kind of had a schizophrenic crack up, a split in our the allness or wholeness or whatever, that wherever we were. And I'm not saying we were all whole and then what it is, we used to think in terms of what am I talking about? Why do we think that the material world is primary? Because that's what the scientists study. We are taught this story of when, our scientific forefathers studied the universe, and the church had their ideas, and there's Galileo, who, looking at the moons of Jupiter, said, you know what, you've been telling us that the heavens, the celestial heavens, are these concentric perfection spheres of whatever. I think what they were trying to say, they were talking about consciousness. They weren't talking about the actual physical world, although there is a relationship between consciousness and the physical world. Absolutely. I think I'm rambling a little bit. I was trying to drive to something, but then it's difficult. I got a little bit lost. Don't worry about it. It will all circle back around as everything does. Let's see. Where shall I go from here? I have talked about the steps of creation. Step 1, life contrast causes us to ask for more, clarifies who we are and what we want. Contrast serves us. We think we don't want it, but we do. Contrast causes the universe to expand. And our recognition of this contrast is part of these steps of creation. Step 1, contrast causes us to ask for more. And if you study human history, even just study it on the American continent for the last couple hundred years, it's easier to study it here because there's so much less of it here. You go back to the old country and it gets really rather convoluted, although the general idea is still there. Watch enough Masterpiece Theater and you kind of get a sense of the flavor the what the different times in history tasted like or felt like, or I don't know how to describe the words that would say you vibing it. Like, go watch Poldark, you know. Times were rough back in the old days. If you were not, and even if you were wealthy, the I times were still rough compared to what I've got going on right now. The freedom that I have to choose, the freedom that I have to know, the freedom that I have to be whatever it is that my spirit inspires me to be. If I was this person that I'm being right now on this tape, I can't even tell you how few I don't even know. If I was this, at no other time in history can I think of that I could be anyone I want to be as freely as I can be right now. I can be gay, which I'm not. I could be, I can dress any way I want. I can be any religion that I want. I can be, as a woman, I can own things. I can speak my mind. I can even say these ridiculous things on this show. I'm out there. I'm wackadoo. I know I am. But also I'm also not wrong. I'm also not wrong in what I say. And you're not wrong either. Don't be so quick to say you're wrong. This isn't a competition between me being right and you being wrong. Find the place where I'm right and you're right too. You know? Because you're right about something very profound. I don't know what it is, but you can find it. Find where you're right. I remember from being married to this alcoholic. He knew so many places where he was wrong. He knew where he was a train wreck and messing things up. And he didn't need anybody to tell him over and over and over again where he was wrong. He needed someone to see him for where he was right. He didn't know where he was right. We don't know where we are right. And so we just persist in wrongnesses. If we knew where we were right, we could emphasize that, couldn't we? Ooh, that's where I'm right? Oh, okay. All right, I'll do more of that. We are right in our love. And I'm going to say it, in our love, where the love itself is. Now, how that translates into reality, I can't vouch for that. Because you might say, well, I did that for love. I killed all those people for love. How can you say that I was right in my love? Well, you're misinterpreting me if that's what you've done. If you've killed a bunch of people for your love, then we're not talking about your love. Life. What do I do? What do I do about us? I want us to understand. I want us to understand who we are, because I want humanity to make it. I want us to make it to the 22nd century and beyond in beautiful, loving, delightful ways. We do not need to be so afraid of everything that we're afraid of. As a matter of fact, there is nothing to be afraid of except fear itself. And the reason that is because fear takes us into these momentums of, well, fear is on this emotional guidance scale. Fear, so what is this law of attraction thing? I know that I haven't really explained it very well. I kind of said the steps of creation. Law of attraction and momentum are the same thing. You're talking about the same thing when you're talking about law of attraction and momentum, because the way thoughts work, the way your mind works, you take a thought, whatever its frequency, positive or negative, you take a thought, and stay with it long enough, the universe is going to hand you another one along the same frequency. You stay there long enough, it's only like 15, 16 seconds, and the universe will hand you another one, and it amplifies. It's like, I think it might be orders of magnitude. It's not just another thought. It's like it goes up another magnitude. And then it's kind of fleshing out. It's opening up into this vista. And if you stay on the same thought, positive or negative, or you stay on the same wavelength for long enough, and you can get a pretty good conversation going on, positive or negative. You let it go for a minute, and away you go. You could be talking about those bad people doing those bad things. You could be talking about, you start in with accident stories. And to everybody's mind, accident stories starts coming into their head. You stay on that, and then next thing you know, people are starting to outdo each other on the gruesome stories. And then every pit is bottomless, people. Every pit is bottomless. So, what do I want to say now? What do I want to say now? We went to this for a second. This is the neocortex thing. The reason I always pull this one up is because I think the reason that humanity has a hard time being consistently in connection with their own source and consistently good and not non-destructive, and not destructive wicked beings, why we have such a hard time with that is because I think somebody genetically modified us, which both enhanced our capabilities to a breathtaking degree on the one hand, and yet made us powerfully, potentially wicked and destructive on the other hand. I think that the reason that is because we are genetically modified. This is what I base that on. 76%, now that nut figure I get from Greg Braden. And I wish I had the slide that showed that. But a large portion of the volume of our neocortex comes from human chromosome number 2, which is a fused chromosome. And the way it is fused sort of implies an intervention. I think somebody genetically modified us. I think this is the alien technology that we've got inside of us. It's not really, you're not going to find technology, you're not going to find a device. The technology is this genetic capability, this little genetic tweak that we got. It would have been 200,000 years ago, thereabouts, give or take a few millennia. It all depends on when anatomically modern humans appeared on planet Earth. I think we were genetically modified. And if we aren't, well, okay, fine. Our configuration is still our configuration. But it makes sense that someone would do this to us because our emotions are, if we would but understand what they are and focus that direction, they are instruments of, our emotions sing to the universe. They do. Our emotions sing to the universe. And the universe responds. And our mind can be in on it and watch it happen and be surprised and delighted every step of the way as things unfold for us, unfold for us, unfold for us. But you've got to expect it. If you are not expecting things to work, that things are working out for you, then your attention can be drawn all the time to little negative this and little negative that and big negative over there. And my momentum of negative thought can carry me away. You got to understand your own equipment, your own organizational structure. Now, this slide, this is what this one represents to me. You are a being of light flying through life experience. You could think of it that way. And when you go specific, that's your accelerator. And when you go general, that's your braking system. So if you find yourself in a negative thought, if you find yourself in a negative place, in a negative emotion of any sort, if you find yourself in a negative emotion, you can have a negative thought. But if you haven't taken that thought into the place where you're having a negative emotion about it, it's not really a problem. You can think negative thoughts if you want to, but if you take them into negative emotion, then your momentum is too high. So if you find yourself in negative emotion, go general. Quit being specific about the thing you're trying to fix, because you will only get deeper and deeper and deeper into wow, I got some kind of allergic reaction to something going on. So there are 4 general states of being, and the object of the exercise is to stay in positive emotion. Now, I'm not saying that you can't. So when I say that you should stay in positive emotion, I'm not saying that having a negative emotion is a failure of that. It absolutely isn't, because step 1 brings clarity. You need those negative emotions to tell you what you want, to clarify the situation. You don't ever want to be so afraid of going into unknown territory that you're and don't you just hate those people that are just like, they have a smile, a Joker smile just plastered on their face, and they're just like a clown. That's why clowns are so creepy, because they are just relentlessly but unrealistically positive. It's almost there's something wrong with that. You are made to go into negative emotion. You're just not meant to stay there. You're supposed to just, you take that emotion and then you pivot back to the net positive. Pivot back to the positive, because positive is who you really are. So if you feel a negative emotion, don't get specific from that place, because you will only you'll only dig a hole. You will not move forward the way you're trying to. You will just dig a hole from your negative place. Now, my general rules are this: your negative emotions are your negative emotions. You should not suppress them. You absolutely need to feel them. But what this means is, sit on your hands, don't act, don't get specifically material in any way, don't get specific, actually. Pull back to the general. And then try to, so you might pull back to a general like, oh, life sucks, or that sucks, or that's hard, or just something general about it that you still believe, and it's still negative, so you're still in resonance with where you are. And then from that position, from a general negative, try to find a way to move to a general positive. Even about the same subject. You don't have to change subjects. At some point you may have to deal with that, bad plumbing, or whatever that specific issue that you are looking at, that you're trying to get past, that life has brought you some contrast. What the hell are you going to do with it? Use it to clarify, pivot your position, find your positive, then go specific. When you find your good humor, when you find your general positive, now go specific on the same subject. Anyway, we'll talk about this more in days to come, every day, every day, every day. To end this one, and I'm not quite done because I'm only coming up on an hour and 40 minutes. I do have a few more minutes left, but I'm going to share with you a story that illustrates a general truth about the universe. So know that the universe is vibrational and learn to focus on the vibrations. Learn to not focus on the specifics of the material, especially exactly where the material causes you negative vibrations. That would be the wrong thing to do. To focus on the material where the vibrations feel really bad. Don't focus that way. You can still look at the same subject. I still study the Holocaust. It's not I say that I used to study it, but now I only look at the positive. No, I still look at this. But I look at it from the place where I'm like, wow, look at how interesting that is. Look at how that works. You can see how that happened. Ooh, no wonder. And it absolutely, to myself, proves every point I ever have to say. It's like, it's all borne out in all of that. So I'm still looking at the same negative thing, but I'm not looking at it from a place of despair or hopelessness or helplessness. I'm looking at it from a place of fascination, and let's understand who we are so that freaking pattern quits playing out. We need to understand our demonic side. That how we are a field phenomenon. Quit focusing on your own individual sin and judgments of yourself and others, and focus instead on the light beings that we are, and what it looks like when we get crosswise of that. That's what the ornery rascals, the outlaws, and the ones who, and ne'er-do-wells, that's what their problem is. They're getting crosswise of who they really are. And when you're crosswise of who you really are, the demons really play ninepins upon planet Earth. We do not want that. We do not want that. We do not need to judge it. We just need to understand it and veer the hell away from it. So I'm going to leave you with one little story. It's a short story. And I'm not sure whether it's true or not. I don't think it even matters whether it's true. If it's true, it's delightful. If it isn't true, it's still a lovely little story. And it illustrates the meaning of this being a vibrational universe. It really is love. It really is love. And so you need to focus on the love. You need to keep love in the center of the aperture of your focus. Don't let the wickedness and the darkness go to the center of the aperture of your focus. Leave that to your peripheral vision. You can see it. I can see it. I'm not naive. I can see you, demon. But in the center of my focus, I'm going to put love. And so here this little story is. It's the Kafka and the Doll story. And maybe you have heard it before. This man that's telling this story, he is the Chef Charlie is who is telling this story. I came across this short feel-good story recently, and it captured so many elements of life that reflect about relationships to the world and each other. Oh, I don't know why I read that. So here's the story. At 40, Franz Kafka, who never married and had no children, walked through the park in Berlin when he met a girl who was crying because she had lost her favorite doll. She and Kafka searched for the doll unsuccessfully. Kafka told her to meet him there the next day, and they would come back to look for her. The next day, when they had not yet found the doll, Kafka gave the girl a letter quote, written by the doll, saying, "Please don't cry. I took a trip to see the world. I will write to you about my adventures." Thus began a story which continued until the end of Kafka's life, which was just a year later, I think. During their meetings, Kafka read the letters of the doll, carefully written with adventures and conversations that the girl found adorable. So Kafka struck up this friendship with this little girl, and he I hope her parents were somewhere around. Anyway, just forget about that. Finally, Kafka brought back the doll. He bought one that had returned to Berlin. "It doesn't look like my doll at all," said the girl. Kafka handed her another letter in which the doll wrote, "My travels have changed me." The little girl hugged the new doll and brought her happy home. Many years later, the now adult girl, who of course knew that what had really happened, the now adult girl found a letter inside the doll, and in the tiny letter, signed by Kafka, it was written, hold on, "Everything you love will probably be lost, but in the end, love will return in another way." And that's the lesson to us. Don't focus on the material. That material is coming and going. The love behind it is what you're looking for, which it keeps becoming and becoming and becoming and becoming and becoming and becoming. And if you focus on the stuff that's not the love, it'll take you into weird places. Focus on the love and you will find that it is always there. That you got to get your mind off of the material. And how many of the religions have told us that? And we said to them, "Nonsense! The materiality of it is real." Well, the material world is real. That's absolutely a fact. But it's not material. It's vibrational. And so your emotions are the better tool for you to use to navigate your way through this world. And should you be following your vibrational impulses that feel the worst, your negative emotions, are those the ones you should be following? No. Know who you really are. Know who you really are. Know that you are these two beings trying to resonate with one another. But the source mind, that one's not going to, you don't have any choice about that one. You're going forward and you are positive. You've got no choice. But if you want to drag on it with your other self going the other way, you can. And when you do, it feels bad. So how do you stay in alignment with your inner being? Pay attention to how you feel, and don't be so willing to go into the dark places. Don't be so willing to judge yourself or others hatefully. Period. We are all in this together, like it or not. And the more of us there are shoving more up against one another, the more important it is that we understand this. Anyway, real quick, it looks like I have up to 10 minutes longer if I really wanted to use it. I can do a couple of more things here. These are cymatic patterns. I don't know if you've ever heard of cymatics, but cymatics is the study of the relationship between vibration and form. What is the relationship between vibration and form? That's kind of a tricky subject, isn't it? Well, it was pioneered by a man named Hans Jenny, and his original way of studying this was he would take a metal plate, excuse me, and sprinkle on top of it a granular medium. And then he would pipe a vibration through the plate and watch as that granular medium would dance into coherent patterns. You change the frequency and it changes the pattern. You increase the frequency, it makes the pattern more complex, changes it to more complexity. And it's an interesting thing to think about where we are in time right now, because vibration precedes form. And what is the vibration that we are going to give to the form that is coming into being? Right now, we live in a time where, this picture that I've shown, upper right and lower left, that's the granular medium dancing on a metal plate. That's what those pictures are. And then the upper left and lower right, those are, for instances of cymatic patterns in nature, as well as the snowflake. The snowflake is a cymatic pattern. It's forming on a frequency out there in the sky as that ice crystal forms. And it's all different frequencies out there. All kinds of frequencies swimming around. When they get big enough, the frequencies turn into matter. But we'll leave that for another day. We are at a time when our frequency is changing. And so the pattern on the metal plate of our lives is changing. And if you are clinging to the form that was as it's dissolving away, because its vibration is passing and a different vibration is coming into being. If you're holding on to the old stuff as it's passing away, you're feeling very insecure. If you are focusing on what's coming into being, then you're feeling more secure. And if you're focusing on the spirit of it all and not really focusing on any of it materially, then you're feeling extremely secure. You got to know what to put in the center of that aperture. One more thing, I came across this and it just struck me how much it dovetailed into my thesis of, who am I and how we need to know who we are. As I haven't spoken at all about fossil fuels today, I will make that a priority. I can do a show tomorrow, so tomorrow I will speak a little bit more about that, because my agenda is twofold. I want humanity to understand who we are so that we can be more peaceful within our own configuration and then be more productive and effective in the physical world to make our dreams come true. I'm not all about, withdrawing from the physical world. I'm all about understanding the physical world so that we can play with this medium joyfully instead of so torturously as we do. This is supposed to be fun. And most people, if you say that, they will say, "What? Fun? This is the farthest thing from fun." That it is and it isn't. It's both. And it all depends on how you're focusing. It's meant to be fun, people. So what I came across was this. The 5 kleshas. These are considered in Buddhist philosophy to be the root causes of all suffering. And I can see that. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I got it. I can see that. The identifying with an imaginary self, I identify that more like this. So identifying with an imaginary self, I see more as overly identifying with your physical self and not being aware that you really are. You really, 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 really are this eternal continuum of information flow, of desire of experience, of love moving through time. That's what you really are. Now, you might be overly identifying with your individual self, your specific self, that's, I'm not saying that you can't identify with your specific self. I'm just saying if you see yourself as only your physical machine and you identify yourself as a being made of meat, for crying out loud, no wonder you are feeling vulnerable. No wonder you are feeling threatened. But that's not all of what you are. When you lay that one down for whatever reason, because somebody murders you, or because you step out in front of a bus, or because you die in your sleep at 105, it doesn't matter. When you lay that one down, the other one is still there. It's there right now. It's there then. It's always there. You are a continuum, and you're not just yourself. You are a continuum with a whole field of information. You really are. Fear not, for you are love, and you are loved. And I see that I am coming up close to 2 hours. I don't want to go past that magic 2-hour mark. I think I've probably said everything I need to say for today. Tomorrow, I'll talk more about freeing us from fossil fuels, because I really believe that that is the instrument of abundance moving forward. It's going to inject so much energy into the system. We'll talk about how to do that tomorrow. Today, we just talked about our emotional and soul configuration, our eternal vibrational selves in this eternal vibrational universe. It's probably enough for one day. As always, I am grateful that you took the time to listen to my little show. Even if it's just one person, it's enough. It's enough for now. I have no intention of organizing any kind of... It's just enough. Thank you. And until tomorrow, I bid you peace. I wish you love. And until tomorrow, may the source be with you. Amen.